Welcome to Mainland, your local regional television station. I'm Graham O'Brien, and some of the stories coming up in our Nelson Tasman Regional News Roundup. New regulations put principals in the firing line, providers talk about the new raw milk rules, Kaiteri Tiri hosts God's Own Adventure Race, and more. The new Health and Safety at Work Act that will come into law on April the 4th has schools worried. It seems that principals and school boards under the new Act can face fines of up to $600,000 or 5 years in jail in the worst case scenarios for injury or death of a student in their care. Chrissy Small spoke to Nelson Principal Don McLean of Hampton Street School about what these new laws could mean for our schools.
Now Don, thanks for taking the time out to talk with us today, but can you tell us what these new health and safety rules will now mean for schools like yours?
I mean, it's a little bit grey in terms of where this is going to take us, because it's new, and the mood from the ministry is that no, don't panic and don't worry, it's all going to be fine. But yeah, from our point of view, it basically means just being careful. Just ensuring that we look after ourselves. That staff understand the importance of health and safety and they're taking it very seriously. Not that they hadn't in the past, but certainly the new regulations have made us, much more heightened around, what our responsibilities are and, where the buck stops, really.
Right.
I think that sort of clarifies that in no uncertain terms.
But there was always that there in certain aspects of the regulations.
That's totally right, Chrissy. There's always been health and safety. Has always been an important part of any school trips or camps, things like that. We always did our RAMS reports and safety action plans and all those sort of things. The thing that we really want to do is we want to make sure that staff realise, the importance of those action plans. We want to assure parents that those things are in place, and that we, I'm not a big fan of saying we're going to stop taking kids on camps or on outdoor trips, but I do think we are, as a school, going to be looking really closely at those policies and procedures we have in the school, making sure they're airtight, and that the staff and anyone involved in camps and things are following those to the letter. And that will be the big thing that comes out of it. We did do it before, but this now it's certainly much more heightened.
Sure. Now, Don, look, we had a terrible tragedy a few years ago with Motueka High School. They had some trees felled, and a child playing in the school ground out of school hours was crushed. And those sorts of incidents, I mean, can they really be the responsibility of the board and the principal? Does that really have to go back to that, or does that go back to the contractor?
That was a tragedy, but yeah, unfortunately, absolutely, I do think they do have to be the responsibility of schools and principals and things like that. I think we need to, all take responsibility for our tamariki, and when parents are given us the responsibility to look after their kids, we need to be make sure that we are safe in our practices.
Right. Now, we're talking about a situation, though this child wasn't even at that school, he was too young, but this is out of school hours. If a child breaks into a swimming pool, a school pool, out of hours and isn't from that school and is drowned, again, is that your responsibility?
Yeah, that's an interesting one, because we've had that discussion. We've got a good pool here at Hampton Street, and if someone breaks the law and climbs into your pool, and you've done all the measures taken to try and prevent people getting in, but they still get in, and people do that, and then they get stuck under the cover and drown or something like that, it's actually their responsibility. So that if they're breaking the law, unless it's proven that, okay, no, we left the gate unlocked, or actually you left a ladder against the fence or something like that, that's different from someone who actually intentionally breaks the law by breaking into your facility and then has a terrible accident while they're there. So you need to make sure, obviously, you don't have the gates open and the ladders leaning against the wall. But if people choose to do that, then they're taking that's their own responsibility.
Now, some schools hire out keys to their pools as a way to make a little bit of extra money for maintaining their pools. What if someone who hires a key doesn't lock the gate? Does that go back to
It's a really
school?
good question, Chrissy. That's something I think, luckily we don't do that at Hammond Street, thankfully.
Yeah.
But that's going to be...
I think schools will be looking at that.
That's a can of worms, in my view, because it's a really good point. What happens? And no matter what you do in your school, how do you ensure that doesn't, that something doesn't go wrong? You're actually allowing the person in, you're actually taking the responsibility of them being in the pool, even though you're not there. You can make them sign a waiver, which is what they generally do when you do a key. They have a thing to say that you're taking all responsibility, but you just don't know what people do when they get into those facilities, and where that responsibility lies. It's an interesting one, all right.
So basically it's business as usual, but you'll be really crossing those T's and dotting those I's all the way through.
Absolutely, and we've made that really clear to the staff that that's the way it's going to be too. So,
right.
it's exactly it. It's business as usual, and we don't want to compromise the quality of our program, or the what we're able to offer children simply because of the rules. But
we all know kids
have to be extra careful.
Yes, and we all know that kids need some risks to learn from, don't they, in life?
Absolutely, that's exactly right. They need to be able to take some risks in life, because later on in life they need to know how to manage risk.
That's right.
So exactly, it's really, really important that parents still, and teachers in schools, still allow children to take some managed risks while they're young, so that when they get older they understand that the risks do need to be managed, and that they don't do silly things themselves with no awareness of what a risk's about.
Well, we're very fortunate here that we have such beautiful areas to take the children. There's the Abel Tasman National Park, we've got the lakes, we've got the mountains, we've got so much. But again, under that health and safety, do you think that will actually hold schools back now?
I think some schools are going to be cautious, put it that way. I think that I wouldn't be surprised. At the end of the day, in the worst case scenario, the principal could be fined up to $660,000 or something, and basically that's your house down the tubes. That's personally, and they can go to jail for up to 5 years. But that is the worst situation of incompetence. That something like that would happen. But there's obviously going to be in between that and nothing, there's going to be a scale of
culpability.
Of competency. So we're just going to have to, and that will wear on principals. That.
Well, I think you'll be wanting a pay rise, won't you?
Yeah.
All the added stress and strain.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea. I'm always keen on a pay rise.
Right. Well, we'll keep the petition happening then.
Yeah.
Hey Don, look, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us about some of the concerns that are out there regarding this law change. It's quite worrying, but we're sure that we have such good principles in this area that you guys will rise above.
Thanks, Chrissy. Good on you.
Thanks.
Raw milk has been classified as a high-risk food by the Ministry for Primary Industries, and this month MPI has introduced strict hygiene and testing standards, which means raw milk providers are having to make some big changes that could affect supply for some. Chrissy Small spoke to Karen Trafford of Wongapeka Cheese at their shop in Richmond to find out what effect these changes will now have on her family business.
Karen, as of the 1st of March, new rules around raw milk came into effect. How has this affected businesses like yours?
Me personally, raw milk isn't a big part of our business, but the new laws and regulations for me personally aren't a big impact, as in because we are pasture to plate and we produce our own milk to make our product. A lot of those measures are in place. The new regulations require a template or a registration, and you do have rules and testings to apply to register. So I think it's going to take a little bit of time for people to understand these regulations and to apply them to their businesses. Some people that don't have the fortunate RMPs, it will be a little bit troublesome, I think, to them. I think it's a matter of discussing, having maybe clear discussions with MPI and about these regulations. And yeah, basically I think it's going to be a 2-year period where they all get ironed out. The smallest supplier like ourselves and those farms that want to supply raw milk, there's a lot of farms or people who are currently Fonterra suppliers that do have a raw milk business, and I think how that's going to divide is that it can't be under a generic RMP. So those people that are supplying Fonterra, that are supplying raw milk, will have to have a separate management control program to provide milk as in raw to customers. I think some of the issues that are facing some of these suppliers is basically, previous to that, they could drop off at a collective. I think those are one of the issues. Now, one of the new regulations are that they will have to drop off at each person's house. The other thing is there's quite extensive testing on the raw milk, but understandably, with any raw product in New Zealand, there has to be a starting point and there has to be safety in that product. And I think that those things are going to be put in place for those particular reasons. It's a little bit hard when you're little to be able to wear those sorts of compliances, and I think these are the issues that will have to be addressed over the next 2 years, is the correct balance. And hopefully these will be addressed. I think today in New Zealand, when you're going into a dairy industry, it's geared up through MPI to be quite a large scale compliance. When you're little, that is the biggest thing. Those large scale compliances still apply, and maybe in the future they can be addressed to be more in proportion.
Do you think that there's a lot of support for small businesses like yours?
There isn't a lot of support. I think that there needs to be a lot more support, as in people having an understanding of the regulations or compliances, somebody that they can talk to and be able to plan their future business around those compliances. For a lay person getting into the industry, it's mind-boggling, and
it's not as simple as just milking a cow into a bucket, is it?
No, it's not. And it would be nice to see some sort of education program in New Zealand. We are a dairy country, and I really feel strongly the fact that there needs to be some sort of courses or education out there for people that are wanting to get into local community businesses in a commodity that we're so strong in New Zealand.
Now, you provide the beautiful cheeses here, and of course your lovely yogurts and milk. Now, you have customers who buy large quantities of this, mainly for cheese.
Yeah, we have a lot of home cheese makers, and yeah, it's something that's becoming very popular, and it's something I like to see be extended into the future. Perhaps with a course, or we will be opening up lessons ourselves. But yeah, basically, it's with the regulations. Yeah, it's to be made and consumed in their own home and not added on. And I think that's fair enough. We have a nice system going where we do a food grade bucket swap. It comes home and gets sterilised.
So it's really those people that will be affected by the changes. In fact, it's probably a plus for them because they don't have to come here and pick it up. You'll be delivering.
Yep. And I think, that's probably a thing that they've put in place where, if you are getting up to larger quantities and you do have a drop-off point, is that some of those people must realise that that milk has to be kept cold, and whether there's a chiller on site to keep that milk chilled, or so you can see why they're sort of bringing in this,
Yeah, because we know that, the milk loves, or bacteria loves milk.
Absolutely, and I mean, one of the main things to keep those risks down is keeping it chilled. I mean, and those are simple things that can be addressed if you're dropping it off at homes, as if they are working or they're not home, as they leave chili bins out and slicker pads. And I think the responsibility will be on the supplier to maintain or educate those people receiving that milk about the risks associated if it's not handled appropriately.
Have you ever wanted to be in the Guinness Book of World Records? Well, the local Victory Community Centre is giving us all a chance with a record-breaking poi twirling attempt on April the 13th. I spoke with Nicola Bear, the coordinator for this event, to find out more. Nikki, we're used to Victory Community Centre being the first to do something in Nelson, but now maybe the first in the world. Can you tell us more about that, please?
Yes, well, we're planning a world first Victory poi spinning event. We want as many people as possible around Victory and in the whole Nelson region to come along to Victory Square Park to be a part of history. We want to have the largest group of poi spinning consecutively for 2 to 5 minutes, just to make our mark.
And who else who has the record at the moment?
There's little similar records around, but not actually the largest group all in one spot at the moment. So we're aiming between 250 to 500, maybe 1,000 people. It doesn't matter, just as many as possible.
Well, world record team, the more the merrier, isn't it?
Right.
And you want people to register for that, or just turn up on the day and hope for the best?
Yeah, so we're asking everyone to pre-register, so before 3 p.m. on the 1st of April. And you can either do that by coming into the centre or doing it online. Have a look at our website, have a look at our Facebook page. We're updating all the time on there, and you can email us as well.
Sure. Now, 1,000 people probably don't all have pois at home, so are you furiously making pois, or what's going on?
We are. We've got a great team making poi at the moment. We have workshops at lunchtime, and people are taking them home. We're plaiting, we're cutting, we're asking for foam mattresses. If anyone has any old foam mattresses, they make great stuffing for poi.
And there's going to be a bit of training beforehand, so we can all get into it?
Yes. Well, always practicing. Anyone's welcome to come to the centre at any time to have a go. We've got poi here, we're making them all the time. And before the actual official attempt, which is at 5 p.m. on the 13th of April, we will have some practice sessions and maybe get some celebrities up there giving it a go as well.
And you got an official from Guinness Book of Records coming along?
Yeah, so we're doing the official record with Guinness, but we have our own adjudicators and spotters. So yeah, it's all official Guinness stuff, and then they will confirm it afterwards, say that we've actually made a Guinness record.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you would like to register for this world record attempt, please contact the Victory Community Centre. Kaitiri has been busy gearing up for an influx of sportsmen and women as the national and international teams arrive in the region this week for the 7-day-long world's biggest adventure race, God Zone Chapter 5, and will begin at a yet-to-be-announced location in this region on Saturday, April the 2nd. Race director Warren Bates has said that the nature of the Tasman region has offered many incredible locations for the adventure race, making this like no other God Zone they've ever had before. Former All Black captain Richie McCaw will be competing in this event, and the Amazing Race TV show host Phil Keoghan will be at the finishing line. Keoghan is here filming part of a new TV series, with this episode showcasing parts of Nelson. Chrissy Small spoke to God Zone media manager Margot Berryman to find out more about this exciting adventure race event taking off this weekend.
Right, Margot Berryman, look, this is an exciting race for the region to be taking on. Is this the first time God Zone has been in the area?
Yes, it is. This is the first time that we've been to the beautiful Nelson, Tasman region, and it's really exciting, particularly for all the international teams that are flying into New Zealand getting ready to race this weekend.
How many people are you expecting to compete?
So we've got 2 categories this year. The pure category, which is the full-length event, and we have 61 4-person teams in that, and they have 7 days to race the course, kicking off this Saturday. Then we've got a brand new category this year called Pursuit, and those teams will be racing a slightly shorter course, And the difference for those guys is that they have support teams with them. So whenever they get to a transition, they'll have a team of followers cooking them up some hot food. And we've got 10 teams of 4 in that category.
Goodness, so it's going to be fairly full on. What's the weather looking like for the event?
That is a really good question. Trying hard to not look at the long-range forecast at the moment. It's looking a little bit rainy maybe for Friday and Saturday, and possibly coming in towards the end of next week. But to be honest, this is not an event that is really affected by weather. It runs regardless of what the weather is doing, unless it's an absolute total major weather event, and then that would maybe just cause us to create some slight course changes. But generally we go ahead, rain, hail or shine.
Right. Now we're looking at areas around Kaitiritiri. Obviously there'll be some action, I would imagine, off the beach there as well.
Well, Kaitiritiri is the host location this year, which means that all the teams will arrive in Kaitiritiri over the next 24 hours for race registration and briefings and the welcome on Friday at the Shoreline restaurant here in Kaitiritiri. The teams won't actually find out about the course until Saturday morning, so at this stage they don't know where the race start line will be.
Right, okay, so it's all going to be, everyone's in the same boat, so to speak, for the start date or start place. Right, okay, so it's a 7-day event, and that will just continue from that outer greater area of Kaitiritiri. There's some really difficult terrain there, especially up there in the back hills. Do you think there'll be some adventure sports going on up there?
Absolutely. It's such an amazing area, Nelson Tasman. And when we first looked at it to bring the race here and started looking at the national parks, you've got 3 national parks, Abel Tasman, Kahurangi and the Richmond Ranges, all in that area. There's just a plethora of opportunities to take adventure racing teams. Because these guys, as you said, they're out for 7 days. Godzone is the world's largest and most technically challenging adventure race, and it's known as an expedition event, which means that the teams continually travel day and night, 24/7, changing from one discipline to the other. So they typically will expect on the course to be mountain biking, mountain trekking, mountain running. There might be some ropes that they will do, some rope sections. There might be some mountain climbing, white water, canoeing, kayaking, mountain biking. So, this region just offers such an incredible diverse terrain to put the teams through some of those disciplines. And as we said, they have 7 days to complete the course. Once they get handed their maps on Saturday morning, they have to make their way around the course that we've set, going from checkpoint to checkpoint. And they have the choice of deciding how they will get to that checkpoint. So, navigation is a really big part of this event, and it means teams will be all over the region doing these things.
Right. Okay, so what about spectators? Will there be an opportunity for people to spectate some of these events?
Yeah, absolutely. We have an amazing live website, which is godzoneadventure.com. That goes live at 6 a.m. on Saturday morning, and that will have the entire course details on there. So spectators can check on the website, see where the teams are going to be going through, and turn up at specific points, transition areas along the way, to urge the teams on and encourage them and see all the action.
Great. Well, look, it sounds like it's going to be an extremely great 7 days for the region, just having such an adventure race going on here. And how inspiring for local sports people as well, and maybe something for them to look at in future.
Yeah, we've got some great representation actually out of the Nelson region. Team Mochiweka is probably one to watch. They're a local team, and we know they're champing at the bit to get out onto the course. We've been really welcomed by Tourism Nelson and by the Kaitiritiri Beach Trust, and it's just been fantastic to be finally here on the ground and about to push the start button for Godzone Chapter 5 2016.
Well, look, I'm going to try and get down there too. So, well, best of luck.
Thanks so much, Chrissy.
After the break, we'll bring you the latest weather update and some events and happenings coming up from around the region.
Hi there, Julian Toon, Waimea Telecommunications. We install and maintain domestic and commercial satellite TV, UHF Freeview and Mainland TV installations in the Nelson, Tasman regions. We specialise in Panasonic telephone systems and provide communications, Wi-Fi, IT and wiring for internet, fibre, computers and DSL systems. At Waimea Telecommunications, we also provide specialist electronic systems for features such as a security camera you can watch on your TV, visitor alert systems and much more. Improve your security and communication and entertainment today. Call us on Waimea Telecommunications on 021 472297, ytel.co.nz.
Why would you want to pay as much as $1,000 for a single bed mattress when you can buy a high quality locally made mattress like this for as little as $220? And a queen size mattress could cost you in excess of $3,000, but at Nelson Beds you could have a mattress like this as low as $425. So why would you go out and spend a fortune on your child's bedroom when you can come to Nelson Beds and buy a complete single mattress and base set, a 7-drawer Scotch chest, a headboard and a 3-drawer bedside cabinet for as little as $979? So call and discuss our custom manufacturing options and local after sales service at Nelson Beds, Nelson's only bedding manufacturer.
Welcome to Smugglers Pub and Cafe, open 7 days a week with free parking all day. Our lunch menus have that old-fashioned flavour where we treat you like treasure with the food you'll savour.
We cater for children, grannies and granddads too, with special rates and privileges given to the elderly lunchtime crew. Our staff are friendly and kind and want to see you all come back time after time.
Daytime or evening, it doesn't matter. Give us a call on 546 4084 and we'll be happy to spoil ya.
We're the team at J-Car, right here in Nelson, 120 Hardy Street. Our shop is full of electronic items,
including security alarm systems, electronic components,
solar and power,
electronics toys,
sound systems, cables, and much, much more.
J-Car, 120 Hardy Street, Nelson.
Sport Tasman's Muddy Buddy Adventure Run is on again at Tasman School on Sunday, April the 3rd, rain or shine. Enter online and go in the draw to win one of 2 Avanti mountain bikes up for grabs, and there are also spot prizes available. Bring your friends and be prepared to get muddy. On behalf of the team here at Mainland Television News, thank you for joining us.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.
World War I was a defining period in our history, impacting greatly on the lives of people from the Nelson province. Memories of the First World War is an exhibition which will be displayed in a number of regional venues and is currently on at the Nelson Provincial Museum.
Nelson Tire Center, great prices, great service. Buy your own Bryford trailer, all types, all sizes. See Colin Douglas for your tires and batteries.